Bruh, I don't care if the plot can be mildly predictable, as some critics may say. It's still good. Firebird. Now, Firebird is a love story in Soviet Russia during the height of the Cold War between Sergei and Roman. Now, this kind of unfolds all the story between them and dealing with it and how it's outlawed in Russia at the time. So you would go to jail for 5 years if you had what's the thing, an affair like this. Now, let's just start right away by saying this is a good movie. This is like romance supercharged. Like it's like almost over romanticizing men in this way. They always have a saying that they over sexualize women in media. They're over romanticizing men in this media, like 100%, because it's just very passionate and very like you feel it in your soul. It's so funny because I remember when I watched it for the first time, the girl who showed me it was just like I kind of hesitate to watch it at first because I didn't really care for romance as much. I love romance now, but after she showed me this, I was just like, ah! I love the romance thriller aspect of it because it's not just a typical romance movie. It takes the thrill of war and it puts it all together and it just makes it good. Now, we can say some things that were problems like the pacing. Like I feel like throughout the movie, like the pacing kind of like doesn't find its footing and it doesn't some parts feel maybe too rushed or too slow and that doesn't bode well for the movie overall because you're like, wait, what's happening? Why is it going by so fast now? Or like they spent so much time in one scene. But honestly, that's just a small criticism. Now, there's a thing with the critics and they have to say predictable plot. There's a bit of an audience critic divide where audience have it around 80% and critics have it like high 50s, maybe 60%. Because they said it's like a predictable plot. It's like heartfelt but predictable. Like, bitch, who cares? Okay, I'm not saying predictable movies are the way to go. But one, I don't necessarily think this movie is that predictable unless you're like an expert on this genre of movie. You've watched like hundreds of them, maybe, okay? But if you haven't, it's not really super predictable. Maybe a couple parts, sure, but not really. And let's say something. Let's say people made like 5 bad versions of The Godfather, and then the real good Godfather came out. Is it a bad movie now because it's predictable because there's been 5 other versions that suck? No. Yes, it is. When I say no, I mean yes, quite literally. Since there's previous movies that have done it before, it's a predictable trope. But it's still good. Uniqueness is a factor in these movies, and I have to give it to them. I personally think there's uniqueness in this movie. But I can understand why some people say it's like unpredictable or whatever. At least for some parts. But it's just executed in a way that is just better than the other ones. Like The Secret Love Story. Yes, it's been done 100 times. But the way that you execute it is the point. Because, let's say a typical romance movie. There's 100 war movies, 100 romance movies. No. But it's taking that genre and expanding it and making it into something stronger and really good. So if we jump into the characters, I think they're done expertly. The chemistry between the leads is insane. Like, I watched a couple of these movies, and it's just like, you don't really feel it as strong, but this one is like, damn, they're like actually home in real life. I don't really know. I didn't check because that would ruin the magic or whatever. But like, you can feel it, and I love when actors and actresses, or whatever actors this time, have the on-screen chemistry like this because it really makes a romance movie. Like a romance movie could be slightly worse, but with the strong chemistry from actors, it just pushes it up, even regardless of the quality of the movie. Now, we could say some things like the CGI, obviously they don't have the biggest budget, it's an independent filmmaker, like, yeah, the CGI is whatever. And like, you have a couple of scenes that like, I like the flying scenes that they do in the plane and stuff. Those are good, and it's shot beautifully. Like, obviously they try to make it with a camera and in the movie, part of the movie, to get more beautiful shots. Whatever. If that's how they want to do it, that's how they want to do it. Now, I said the problems before, a little bit predictable if you've been in this genre for a while. Pacing is kind of not great. I did feel like the problem with this movie mainly is the flow. It kind of feels like it's moving and then stopping, and it's like it doesn't sure how to move consistently like a river. But either way, you're gonna have to tell me what you think about it, because I think it's like a light 8. A light 8 is a pretty fair rating, I think, at least. Now, I have to say that uniqueness may be a problem, even though I don't personally mind it. I know that I can't give it more of a rating because of it, because it has been done and it kind of flows in the pattern. You know how I said with the flow of the river, the plot. Yeah, I have to docket points from that, of course. Honestly, even the on-the-nose humor, I like it. Like, some people might find it too obvious or unfunny, but look, I think the way that they did the on-the-nose humor, it's kind of funny to me. Sorry. That's my opinion, of course, though. Let me leave your opinion in the comments. I want to see what people think about it, just to see if they agree more with the critics or audience. I feel like the audience is more right. Light 8. Now, if you're looking for another forbidden love story type of movie, then I want you to check out my video on when I reviewed My Policeman, because even though I think it's a little bit worse than this movie, it has a more like appeal to younger audiences because, one, this is R, and that movie is PG-13. And I still think it's good enough to stand on its own legs. So if you want to check it out, I'll leave it up here in one of these end cards. But I'll see you in the next one.